But the key again is we're crafting the tools to complement the skills of the people who are using it. And I don't care if you're talking about shoe design or automotive design or payroll. You still have to look at technology in that light, I think. Nike was inspired by work that went on in automotive. I worked with General Motors and Nike, and we used to joke that they're both in the transportation business, right? Because it was Nike footwear. But they looked at the way automotive had sped up their design process. You probably know, but it used to be that you would produce maybe 100 life-size scale models out of clay to review a new car design. Wow. Takes $1 billion to bring a new car design to market. And I'm just talking about an upgrade, not a whole new model. And it was an artisan skill to create those clay models. They're beautiful. They're expensive.
To say the least.
So by digitizing that, we were able to help General Motors, Ford, Toyota, practically every automotive company in the world actually style their vehicles with 2 or 3 clay models, which again, reduced the time it took to bring to market. So Nike looked at that, and they actually started hiring. The guy that designed the original Hummer later became a shoe designer for Nike. So they started hiring people in from that industry, but that was a classic example. This is working over there. If they can do it for cars, we can do it for shoes. And they did. To me, digital transformation is about using technology to continually upgrade your business so that your operations generally get better. They might get faster, they might get cheaper, they might bring you whole new capabilities. You might get more information to make your decisions on. But without that value, digital has no value at all. I'd say information technology does just 2 things. And I think keeping it simple is a great mantra of all of us. It either helps create insight by making sure the right information is with the right people at the right time, or it helps automate things we can automate. It helps elevate the skills of your best people by taking the grunt work away from them, having them press a button and maybe do 90% of what they do today, and they still engage in that extra 10%. So any technology investment you make, run that test by them. If it's not improving insights somewhere inside your organization or for your customers, or helping to speed up the process, make it more efficient, it's just not worth it. Don't do it.
So when you get involved in an organization, what do? You know, you're working, say, with a non-tech manager, which really is the focus of your book. What do you do? How do you get them up to speed where they're making those changes that's coming out and from a positive venue?
Yeah. So we generally have 1 or 2 conversations. It really doesn't take more than a couple of 30-minute conversations to get an idea of what the business is all about, what the context is, what the circumstances are. And then I typically help my advisory clients understand other examples of that I believe are applicable to their business. Sometimes that takes research on my part. Sometimes, and I've seen this amongst the 250 businesses or so. But I think it's all about saying, is there something here that will inform your vision for your company and how it uses technology? So that's where it starts, because every leader has to be comfortable this is going to work. They have to make that leap. I think at that point, then we say, well, how do we bring the organization on board? How do we get them to participate? And what does this mean, most importantly, for your customers? If they're not going to notice the benefit of a technology investment that you've done, is it really worth it? It might be, but there's usually a better bet that is customer facing. So we put that together, we create a plan. And then I'll advise and coach their teams to the extent that I can, helping them, because usually folks haven't taken on this kind of work in the past. If you've got a team that's done this a lot, then you know how valuable they are. But a lot of teams need to build that success first. If we expect to hire ready-made experts in everything, we're limiting our options. What I've seen work really well amongst all the organizations that I've worked in that have succeeded here is they help their teams get good at what they need to get good at. Now, that doesn't mean you turn everyone into a software developer or a database expert. But it does mean you recognize that the job of redesigning your business is not for IT to do. It's for your whole organization. Some things that work really well, I think, is pull small teams together. I'm talking 5 or 6 people. They could be your best people. They could be average people, but pull them together and give them a stretch goal. Give them a challenge, an assignment, and then set them up for wins through that. Great teams thrive on wins. If we assign goals to people that they are never going to meet, they're never going to gain that confidence. But over time, they'll grow in confidence. Bring in outside expertise to advise, but don't ever get dependent on it. Bring in coaches, create a coaching culture. Just make sure that you spread the expertise around the organization. I think that's vital. So if we look at expertise as a finite resource, I think we're doing a disservice to the untapped talent that lies around our organizations. We were talking at lunch about James Dyson. We were comparing him to Steve Jobs, I think, because I think he has a similar obstinance about what's right for the market. But he's done a lot of great things in his business. And by the way, he describes his business as, I just move air around, right? They're not a vacuum company. They just move air around, which is why you can buy $500 hair dryers now often. But he hires very talented engineers and he trains them in design. So if you think about that, right? If he was going to go out and find an engineer who's a great designer, wouldn't find him. But if you bring in those skills and you develop the complementary skills, you're really building out a much better rounded team. And I think their products are great. I don't know. I've got several of them, but not a hairdryer. I don't.
I think there's an opportunity for a lot of small businesses who don't understand. There's technology is just this big term, and there's like just buy this software, but how do we make it work within a company that doesn't make you take longer to do the task?
Yeah.
And use the things. Some things aren't worth using for certain companies. So I think people could use, at least in my knowledge and my other groups, that they need someone to help them get off that.
Yeah. The problem with the technology industry is that you can circle yourself with vendors and they'll all sell you their piece of the pie. But strategically, I think ultimately the CEO needs to say, does this fit? And actually that is, since you threw me the softball, that is my sweet spot. That's where I work. I won't tell you something's going to work in a year if it's not.
Going out and getting new consulting clients, do you find that this approach is very novel to people, or do you think it's something that people think they know and don't?
It's novel, and then it turns into intrigue, I would say. So when people say something different, it kind of grabs their attention. And I think when you say, it overlaps with how you upgrade your organization, change your operations, how you manage your team, if you will. Generally, it's very receptive, and it works.
If a CEO or somebody running a company is a little bit hesitant to pull that trigger, they want to get started, they don't want to get started, sort of like approach avoidance syndrome, what do you tell them? What's the magic words?
I tell them to, you all have a vision for your business. What I say is that vision enriched by technology to the point where you're comfortable? You, the CEO, have to be comfortable this is the right thing to do. You don't have to know how to do it. And I think just studying and researching in the copious spare time that you don't have, what else is going on in this field that could be of value to your business, and talk to people who can know, and there are plenty of people out there. But you have to be comfortable in your vision, and I think if you're comfortable in that, and it's going to stretch your organization but not break it, then you surround yourselves with the right people to get the work done. And that is why I wrote this book, because I don't see much in the literature that talks to this gap between inspirational business stories like Good to Great and the O'Reilly technology series, which some of you might be familiar with. If you're a deep techie, that you buy these books. If you're a business leader, I just could not find anything in the middle. So that's why I put the time into this book.
Thank you, sir. Graham Brains, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.